Hi, it's Erin and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage, and today we have a great memorial special for you guys.
Okay, today and I know it's as this show is airing, it's Memorial Day,
Mhm.
so we want to hope that everybody is enjoying their Memorial Days. You can get your barbecues on and all that. What we want to do is we want to, because we are veterans, we want to salute and remember our fallen comrades. So we do take Memorial Day very seriously. Actually, this show we're going to do in honor of my late father. Okay, my late father, who served in the United States Marine Corps, served 2 tours in Vietnam, Staff Sergeant Reginald Earl Simon Jr. So this show is dedicated in honor to you. Um, I wouldn't be the man, husband, father I am today without his influence. So we want to just say salute to Staff Sergeant Reginald Earl Simon Jr. Salute. Okay. Another thing we want to talk about, just in case, it's a little tidbit, in case people didn't know. People don't know, a lot of people don't know that Memorial Day was created by black soldiers in 1865. So, it basically on May 1st, 1865, freed slaves had came together to commemorate some of the fallen soldiers, the Union soldiers. So, actually, black soldiers created Memorial Day. So that's just a little tidbit. You can look it up. It's a great article. That's a great article. Hold on, I'm gonna pull to the side on Time. So Time magazine, written by what is her name? Olivia Waxman. She wrote a great article. There's also a great article on newamsterdam.com. So you can go look that up, check it out. Do a little back research on that. But let's enjoy our Memorial Day.
But I'll put the links for them, for
Yeah,
those
yeah,
two
we'll put the links
articles,
in there.
especially the Time Magazine one, because that was.
That's a really good
So
article.
I'll have that for you guys. Don't worry about it. It'll be right on there.
Okay, so now that we got the house cleaning out the way, that's as they call it.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping is that how they say it.
Mm-hmm.
We want to talk about, so usually at the end of shows I ask for feedback and things, show ideas. So we got a lot of feedback this week. So maybe people wanted to hear a little bit more in depth about the flag theory. I was told I'm to understand that I may have breezed through it too fast, so for that I apologize. So what we will do is we're going to go in depth in some of the theories, just to get a little bit more clarity on it. And so today we're going to spend time on we're going to spend time on two theories. Let's go two theories. We're going to go two theories because a lot of the theories go together. I'm sorry, let me get my little. So one of the theories we're going to have to get into is citizenship, right? And we're going to work with that as setting up residency. These are two different things, and we're going to talk about the different strategies behind them. Harry Schultz, who had the initial flag theory, the three flag theory, said that everybody should have a second passport, right? So having a second passport is different than having a second residency, and we're going to go into that. But I'm going to let her go in and just...
The difference between citizenship
No,
and
just
residency.
wherever you want to go.
So with citizenship and residency, there's a difference, and some people don't really realize the difference, right? When you're a resident, you don't have the full benefits of a citizen, but you have a lot more benefits than just a tourist.
Right.
So sometimes residency is a good idea, especially if you're only going to spend a small portion of time within that country. So like Mexico has a very large U.S. residency program and European residency program, because a lot of people come here from the UK.
Yes, yeah.
Do they come from like other countries? Like, do we meet Italians? We have a French girl who lives right here in the development.
Yeah,
okay, so Europe in general.
But
it's a 4-year temporary residency program. It allows you to, I'm not having a great hair day, y'all, just ignore it. It allows you to tap into like the credit system, which is both great and not so great at the same time. Things are so low that you end up paying for it for a long, long time because you're paying just a minimal amount of money for it. So like if you wanted to buy an iMac, if you wanted to buy a MacBook Pro or whatever it is you want to buy, television, you can tap into the credit program, but it's typically a short-term program that gives you some of the benefits of citizenship, but not the full benefits of
Right.
citizenship. When we talk about citizenship in other countries, that should be very strategic, okay? That should be a situation where you do your research, if at all possible, because believe it or not, Americans think that America is the greatest place in the whole entire galaxy. It is not. The passport doesn't rank as high as you guys think it does. If you have access to a higher ranking passport, maybe one from Dubai, I think that's the number one, right?
Well, let's talk about that. So we're gonna be real, so we can dig down into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. A lot of people may not know that there are rankings on passports, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
use two different places where I go. So you have one. It's called passportindex.org,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can go over there and you can see your passport ranking, and you can see, it gives you an idea of how your passport rates against other passports. And if you have access to other passports, then you say, hey, maybe I should go get that
Right.
passport. The second one I'm going to use, and we're going to talk about this one, is, shout out nomadcapitalist.com,
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
At yearly, they do a passport index ranking. And so we're going to talk about that. So real quick, we're just going to get into some of the technicals of it, right? So you say, well, when you have a rating of a passport, well, what are they banking? What are they rating the passports on? So here's how they break it down. So 100%, they're going to say 50% is travel, right? So they're ranking your passport on your availability, your ability to travel. 20% on taxation. So if you have a different passport, can you reduce that tax burden? 10% on dual citizenship. So what that means is some places, if you get a passport, it's kind of binary and they say you either have our passport or yours. And other places say you can have dual citizenship. You can keep your United States passport and have our passport. But those that don't allow dual citizenship, then you would have to renounce your passport to get the new passport. And that's not anything that we
Recommend.
recommend. I mean, it happens. It higher, well, like I said last show, wealthier people do look into it for tax, but I don't recommend it just starting out your passport journey. Perception. So you have a perception of your passport. You're from the UK, you're from Canada, you're from the United States. Just the perception of who you are is it ranks in your passport, right? Like we said before, you get that blue passport, you're a United States citizen. In the passport rankings, it doesn't rank as high as people think, but the perception is U.S. citizen, they have money, they're wealthy, they pay their bills. You get, like we said, preferred treatment. And then the last 10% is freedom. So freedom is, that's what we talk about on this show. Now, a lot of it comes down when the freedom part is talking about visa-free travel, right? So, I don't know how many people travel internationally, but visa-free travel is what makes your passport so valuable, right? You can go, for example, you can come to Panama or Colombia. You don't have to pay for a visa. You don't have to. You get a visa upon arrival. That's how visa upon arrival. We went to El Salvador. It's just a visa upon arrival. You pay $12. They give you 90 days. You go about your business. And also because the passports are ranked about their ability to travel to the Western nations. So
Mm-hmm.
if your passport allows you travel to the EU, which is the European Union, the United States, Canada, and Australia. So that's what gives your passport a lot of strength and ranking if you can move around in general, the world. There's some places you can't go, but in general, can you move around the world where a lot of business and commerce is being done in some kind of wealthier countries?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the ranking of the passports.
Was Afghanistan the worst passport? It used to
Oh well, we're
be.
gonna get into that, but you go ahead. Let me pull up my.
Oh.
I'm gonna pull up my index over here,
So
y'all.
while
Sorry.
he's doing that, just you strategically want to see where you have the ability to get a second passport. So since my family comes from the Caribbean, I do have the ability through my mother and father's passport to apply for citizenship in the country of Guyana in South America as a second passport. Now, is the Guyanese passport better than the American passport? No. Right? But it gives me options. If America was ever to kind of tank, like really, really, really tank, I would have a beneficial opportunity to maybe not flash my American passport, but flash my Guyanese passport, where they don't have as much issues with other countries in the world, if that makes sense. So, absolutely trying to gain some type of dual citizenship would be beneficial to you. For you military babies, today is Memorial Day. If you have dual citizenship in Germany or any other country that your parents have served in, and you're not keeping up your passports, you definitely want to go and get a new passport for that country and start using it, right? Instead of, if you have a German passport, a lot of dual citizenship in the United States happened in Germany. Landstuhl was a great hospital. Many babies were born there. You absolutely want to start using your passports. Get those stamps, right? Start traveling, start looking at things, see what type of benefits you get based on the perception that we talked about. Here in Mexico, when we flash our blue passport, because what Mexicans like to do, and we're going to keep it real with y'all, I don't care if the U.S. Mexicans get upset, but this is true, what your country does. They like to look at you and try to determine what type of black you are.
Yep.
Right? Because if I can kind of shit on you, I will.
Yeah.
Mexicans are always looking for status and ways to be better than whoever comes to their country. This is the truth. Don't argue with me. Argue with your mama.
Yeah, so that's what happens. So people will come across you. Okay, so you're black. Mm-hmm. What type of black are you?
Your Spanish sounds really good. Are you a Cubana?
Yeah, I went in the store.
Colombiana?
I ran in the store one day, was waiting outside, grabbed a beer. Mm-hmm. And, I was talking to the lady in Spanish, and she asked me if I was Dominicano. And I say, no, I'm not, so she's already trying to put me in a little box and say, no, I'm Estados Unidos. And it's like, oh, okay. They'll ask you that Colombiano, Cubano. So it becomes about status, right? Mm-hmm. What people in America, I think sometimes miss, because if they don't travel enough, that in America, because you're dealing with a melting pot, it's always about race.
Yeah.
But once you leave the country, it's not as much about race as it's about nationality, mm-hmm. right? So it's like, well, what country are you from? If you're Cuban or you're this, you could be Nicaraguan, mm-hmm. Panamanian. It's about what country you're from, not the race. So when they see us, yes, we're black, our race, if you will, but our nationality is United States citizens. And with that comes status, right? Mm-hmm. There's laws written into immigration in every country in the world. If you are a United States citizen, this is the law that applies to you, no matter what you look like. You could be any race, but if you're a citizen of the United States, that's what applies to you. And so that's what we want to get people to understand, the difference between maybe race and nationality. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people use it interchangeably, mm-hmm. and I'm like, well, they're two different things. Mm-hmm. And once you get out here with this passport, you start moving around, your status is your passport, mm-hmm. right? Don't matter if I'm black and she's black. If she has a passport from Jamaica and I have a passport from Canada,
they're going to treat us different.
We're different. The law, written in law, we're treated different. Mm-hmm. And then the people in the community will treat you different. So understand that. So I wanted to talk about just some of the passport rankings, just to let people know. We're going to go with the Nomad Capitalist. They're two different rankings. Check them both out, see how you like them. But the best passport they say to have in the world is from Luxembourg. Wow. And nobody would even really think that. And I'm going to run down about the top 10. So the top 10 best passports in the world. And people think the United States is one of them, and it's not. It's not even in the top 30, but we'll get to that. Luxembourg, Sweden, Ireland, Belgium, Switzerland, Finland, Portugal, Czech Republic, Netherlands, Singapore, Italy, Denmark, Austria, Germany. So these are some of the best passports they say that you can have in the world. And that's why on the rankings, the availability to travel to the EU, which is the European Union, is so important, because of those 10 passports I named, I believe 9 of them were all in the EU except for Singapore. Mm-hmm. So your ability to be able to go to Europe is a high portion of why your passport ranking would be high. Mm-hmm. So, and I'll go down real quick. Tier two passports. So America's passport. So they're saying I'm named the five above America. Hungary, Estonia, Australia, Slovenia, Cyprus. So these passports are ranked higher than the United States passport. And then you had the United States. And then under the United States, Bulgaria, Croatia, Andorra, Hong Kong. And then she asked about the worst passport. So the worst passport you can have is Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Pakistan, and right. We understand, but just understand the value of your passport, and you have to have a passport portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say by a passport portfolio is, for example, funny story. We were staying in Cuba.
Oh God!
When
Don't
she was
tell the story.
with our youngest son. She's about 5, 6 months pregnant, maybe
No,
7.
7, 8. We almost gave birth to him there.
But that's what
I
I'm
was
trying to
8,
get to.
9 months pregnant.
Anyway, she was having some problems, and so we're like, well, we better go home. And people would always say to us, like, Cuba has great medical facilities. It would have been no problem having your baby in Cuba. And we're saying, no, but I want everyone in our family to have the same initial passport, your birth passport, right? I don't want 5 of us to have a U.S. passport and then the youngest has a Cuban passport, right? So when we travel and we move around, everything is fluid. Now, if you want to go get a Cuban passport or whatever passport, then do that later on. But I want our whole family to have the same initial passport, your birth passport. And that's part of your passport portfolio. Even if for people, there's a big movement out here with digital nomads, people moving around the world. And you may be single. So if you eventually decide to get married or, connect with somebody and have a baby, you gotta be strategic. What country are you in? Is it better for them to be born there? Should you come back to your country, have them born there? If you're from the United States and you're in another country and you figure, well, probably better if my child had a U.S. passport. So let's go back to the U.S. and have the baby born so the baby can have a United States passport, citizenship. So this is part of your passport portfolio, understanding what passports you can have, what passports you have access to, and if it benefits you to get another passport so that you can move around with more freedom than maybe your initial birth passport or your birth citizenship. Oh, yeah, go in.
So, he made a really good point, and then I'm gonna let him get back on track. For those of you who are leaving the U.S. to find love in another country, be strategic with that. Make sure right? So make sure you do your research to see how easy or how difficult it is. If you wanted to bring your husband or your wife back to the United States, how easy or difficult it is to get their paperwork in order. Too often people find love, it just happens, I didn't plan it. And now you live in Africa and I live in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't get you to the United States. And it's a lot of money I'm putting out to talk to attorneys and this and that and the third. I remember we used to go to the flea market all the time. We lived in Florida. That's just Florida culture. And we used to see the same older gentleman. He was such a great guy. And he used to talk to us all the time. We don't even know why he was so interested in talking to us. But we were so involved in his journey. And she was from the Philippines. His wife?
Yeah, she was.
And it was he had a lot of money, I can't remember. He retired from somewhere.
He was a retired airline pilot. So he had a lot lot.
But he had like he used to be a director after
that.
He had a lot of money. Pilot. We're talking, like VIP. Uh-huh. And he used to tell us every weekend. I started going to the flea market just so we could run into him and I could figure out what happened this week about the paperwork, trying to get her here. And I had no idea that it was so difficult to get that paperwork together to bring your wife back from the Philippines to the United States because the U.S. has so many Filipinos and especially on the West Coast. So I was actually surprised at how difficult it was. And he was so frustrated and he just wanted his wife. He was like, I'll pay whatever you tell me to pay. I just want my wife here with me. So be strategic in that sense, right? If you say, hey, I'm going to go to Brazil, I'm going to get a beautiful woman, or I'm going to get a really handsome guy, you really want to look into how difficult is it for me to get the paperwork together. You don't have to come back to the United States with them, but if you did,
If
how
you wanted to.
difficult, how much money will it cost? How many years will it take? What does it take to get them there? Because once you start bringing children into the mix, now you don't want your family separated.
Right.
You want your family under one household. I
And
just want
this,
to bring that up.
yeah, and then, there's different ways to get your passport, right? So one of the biggest ways, Nomad Capitalist talks about it, and he'll tell you outright if you go check his channel out. He works with 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs, so a little highbrow. We trying to talk to the everyday man. So we trying to get you there. But one of the easiest ways to get it is citizenship by investment.
Mm-hmm.
But usually they will be 6-figure investments. Now, a lot of people like to go down to the Caribbean. You can put money into the bank, and if need be, we can do a show on international banking. You guys let me know if we need to talk about that. But you can invest in the bank, you can invest in property. Also, if you have a pension that you can verify is from the government, then you can get residency as well.
That's the easiest.
That's the easiest but it takes the longest because you have to be retired.
Oh, yes.
Right. It's not something you could do today. You can't do it until you have the verifiable pension.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have the verifiable pension, then it becomes easy at that point. But if you're trying to do something now, you're a little younger, investment, they have a saying, and I should have looked it up before the show, that they used to do in Argentina, and it translated to English, it meant blood of the soil,
Mm-hmm.
meaning if you lived there for, I believe, 5 years, you were a productive citizen, you had business, you employed people, then you could just get a citizenship just because you're a productive human being in their country. And you have that in different countries. Now you have to research, each country is different. Mm-hmm. You got to research these countries, but they have the golden visa in Spain. So you have to check out the different countries, see what works for you, see what you're trying to do. And that's part of building your wealth. And this is like the flag theory was about diversifying your life portfolio, which is part of your wealth. So, we just wanted to drill in on the passport situation, understanding the importance of passports, understanding for my people out there who, if you have direct family members from another country, you have access to passports. She said that, Margana, you have access to passports. So look into that. Even if the passport isn't better than maybe your birth passport, right, still you might want to acquire that passport just in case. So you can move around different places. It might be places you can go that you can't go with your birth passport, and that's the law. You got to read into it. It's research. It's boring. It's tedious, but it's worth the research because the passports are important. Your passport portfolio is very, very important because you need to be able to move around the world. Look what they're doing in America. They're backlogging passports. They'll tell you if you owe child support, you can't get a passport. So now I owe child support, arrears back child support. Let me say that. Now I can't get a passport. I can't leave the country. I owe taxes to the IRS. I can't get a passport. So then you get locked down within your country. You can't even leave your country. So you want to have a different passport so that you can move around the world. You should be able to move around the world. They put a lot of restrictions on you, especially in the United States. So look into getting that second passport. It's not easy. It takes time. It takes diligence. You got to stay on top of it, but it is definitely worth it.
And I'm always about war, right?
Yeah.
Because we are basically enemy combatants in a war against the system. So, like I said in the last show, passports are expensive. It is a deterrent to keep you from applying, to just kind of keep you in place. Mm-hmm. Y'all know, like you go into the hood, some hoods is one way in, one way out. That's psychological. They built the hood like that. They built the projects like that because they want to keep you closed in. They want you to have a myopic view of life. Mm-hmm. They want you to see things one way, the way they want you to see it. Mm-hmm. So traveling opens all of that up for you. Right. Now, Simon, he been spitting game to y'all. Let me tell y'all. I sit at his little feet like, tell me more. With the passports, you do want to be strategic. And sometimes as people, all of these boxes are checked. And then we forget that these things are in place not for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, like he talked about the golden visa in Spain.
Good luck.
You got to remember the historical context of Spain, right? Spain had the Moors, and we're not going to get into it today. We'll get into it in another show.
But yeah, shout out to all my Moorish brothers and sisters out there. I know you guys out there.
Right?
My Moorish brothers
And you're not treated as well in Spain. You understand what I'm saying? So while the golden visa checks all of those boxes, like, man, this is a great strategy for me to always have in the back of your mind who you are and what your status perception may or may not look like. Now, we talk about Mexico. They do, when we talk about being treated differently, me being Cuban treats me differently than me being American. I'm going to get treated differently off the rip. I could be the same person, lie to you and say I'm a Cubana, and you're going to kind of treat me like shit. And then when I turn around and tell you I'm American, you're going to roll out the red carpet for me. I'm going to be Senora Simone. I'm going to be hermosa, linda. I'm going to be all of these beautiful words. So you really do want to be strategic, even if the paperwork checks off all of these boxes, culturally, historical context in mind. How am I treated in this place?
Yeah, that's what we say. That's the tagline. Go where you're treated best. Right? You know where you're not going to be treated well, and you know where you are going to be treated well. Just be honest about it, right? We had a Facebook friend, if you will, who is a world traveler. She has a family, but what it is she's a woman, and she took a job in Egypt teaching.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And it sounds good. Hey, go move to Egypt. Well, great. We're going to Kemet. You know, we're going to see the pyramids and all that. But the thing was, she was a woman, and she wasn't treated well there. She was
treated horribly. They had to flee out.
Yeah, they had to leave. You know,
and she missed that
with their 6 months. And you have to understand, I would never take my wife to. I mean, no disrespect to a Middle Eastern country, Muslim country, because they're not going to treat her well, right? We understand that. I'm not going to go to. I'm not a big fan of Europe because I have a black family with 4 black sons. So you know, I want to go where we're going to be treated best. Now, like I said, you want your wealth treated well, but as a person, you got to get up and walk around every day. I want to be treated well. I don't want to be mistreated in another country. I was mistreated in my home country. Why leave and go to some other country just to get treated worse? I should have just stayed.
Not only are you black, but you're not from here. I don't think so.
Yeah. So you know, you got to do the due diligence. You got to travel around, see how you're treated. That's why I say, when you travel, don't just stay on the resorts. Get in the community. See how you're treated. See how you're treated. You're not going to be treated perfectly, but you don't want to be mistreated, right? You know, they're going to do different things because you're different and people aren't used to you. They're not used to your culture, but you want to just see how you're going to be treated as far as, you know, is it going to be, you know, you don't want violent and, you know, maltreatment and stuff like that. You know, like I said, you'll have different problems, men and women, because there's different perceptions of you depending on your culture, you know, or your gender. But just, that's why we say, take these business trips, see how you're treated. Link up. Facebook. I mean, I'm on Facebook. We don't really do Twitter and Instagram, but there's Facebook groups of people in other countries. And you can just link up. They're already there doing it. So you can talk to them, get some information. YouTube. You can type in YouTube, almost any large country saying living in, put the country in, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia. And you'll find bloggers, they're giving their experience of being in that country. So link up with them. You know, listen to them, watch their videos. Now, one thing I will say about the YouTubers, when you look for them, and I'm just being honest here, you want to find a YouTuber that looks like you. And I mean, no disrespect, but I'm just saying, if you're going to be a black man going to Colombia, and I get a YouTuber who's a white woman with blonde hair, blue eyes, giving me her experience in Colombia, it's not going to be my experience when I go there. And we just have to be honest about this stuff. When we moved abroad, I was looking for people, families, right? I'm not looking for a single black man in Brazil because I don't, you know, to me, it's not about nightlife, going out drinking, trying to meet women. I need to know about, you know, how my family could be there, how my children, education, is there, you know, resources, you know, just everyday things. So remember, when you look for these YouTubers, find somebody who kind of has something in common with you, whether, you know, you have a family, you're married, if you're going single, however you're going to do it, and they want you want them to look like you. And I mean, not to be racist, but I'm just saying your experience is not the same as their experience is going to be. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, if you find a white guy I watch this guy. I ain't gonna, but he goes around in different countries and stuff like that. His experiences be different than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying better or worse, but I'm looking for things like, well, a black man with a black wife and four black sons. What can I get done? I need to know about schools, education, some programs, sports, safety. I need to know about these things. I don't care about the bar hopping and the clubs and all that stuff. So try to find somebody who has something in common with you and who looks like you for the most part.
Like in those groups that we're
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of single black women complain about France.
Hmm.
Black women, stay the hell out of France. They don't treat you well. They're rude. Now, French, for those of you who don't know that, the French hate Americans anyway, right? That's common knowledge. When I say they don't hate us, they dislike us very much. They have a disdain for Americans. So a lot of single black women, I don't know where the idea came from, how it's romanticized. I'm sure it's something from white culture that has permeated its way into our culture. They complain about how outright, which is good. I want you to be outright about your rudeness. I want you to be outright about how you feel about us. But they're just outright rude, and they'll tell you to your face what they think about you and how they don't want you there and so on and so forth. So these are the little things. Whereas if we looked at France on paper, it would check off a lot of the boxes that we're discussing in the show.
Yeah.
So that's why we're saying while things check off the boxes, you have to look into the nuances of it now, because travel wasn't designed for us.
Yeah, and then when she said France, they also have to, from what I'm seeing, they're having trouble in Italy as well. I know a lot of people like to go over to Italy. It's a beautiful place, great cities, a lot of history, but how are you going to be treated there? Italy and Greece.
Oh, Greece. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful. But how are you going to be treated there? Mm-hmm. That's the question. I'm not a big, like we said, we're not big on Europe. We don't go to Europe. There's a lot of black people going to Portugal. I haven't heard a lot of complaints about Portugal. I've never been to Portugal. I don't know, but from what I've heard, everything seems pretty nice over there in Portugal so far. So, you just have to understand the countries you're going to and how you're going to be treated, right? It's just, it's not. Don't take it personal. Like, you go somewhere and they don't like you because of you're from America or maybe your skin color or your gender. Just you got to understand, like, well, that's not a place for me. We're supposed to be going where we're treated best,
right? Not
where we're treated worst.
Like people talk about Bali. Bali wouldn't be a country for me. I like to wear my hair long. Yeah. I like to wear my outfits. I would have to be all the way wrapped up. Mm-hmm. He would have to do absolutely everything. I would be an invalid there. Yeah. So, just little things. And then you'll have a different woman come to you and tell you, oh, I went to Bali and I absolutely loved it. Your experience is going to be very different from mine. So you do want to keep all of these we don't romanticize anything. We're saying this is a great idea. This is a great way to be strategic. But unfortunately, we have to be all the way strategic. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we didn't want to keep you too long today on the holiday. I know y'all barbecuing out there. I just want to reiterate, when you go check out this passport index, so you can understand how they're rated and how they're viewed. Right? I want to go over it one more time. 50% of it is travel, which means where can you go visa free? Mm-hmm. Do you have to pay for a visa? We went to Cuba because of the contention between the United States and Cuba. We had to pay for a visa. And, so do you have to pay for visas? Do you get the visa on arrival? Travel is a big deal. And where you're allowed to go, right? European Union, Australia, Canada, United States. Can you go to those places? Really, they call it Western world. Taxation, right? Can you move your business into another place and be taxed less? So people want to be able to start a business and be taxed less. Third, dual citizenship. Can you get the passport without giving up your old passport? Mm-hmm. Right? That's not a good trade-off. I don't think. But I don't think that's a good trade-off. Maybe for some people, but people want to be able to get a second passport and keep their first passport. Mm-hmm. Fourth one, perception, right? United States passport has great perception. Even though it ranks lower on the passport index, it still has great perception. So when people see that blue passport come out, You got good, you got good perception. People know you're not coming to the country to take their jobs or do something or do crime and stuff like that. They figure you got money, you coming over here to spend money and add to our economy. And then the last one, freedom. Freedom, which is what we talk about on this channel. Freedom. I don't know if it's true freedom, but freedom nonetheless, that you can go where you want. You can travel around the world. You can move across borders. You can stay places longer. If you go to a place like, I remember, I don't know the numbers now. We used to live in Costa Rica. Costa Rica would give you a 180 days visa because you're a U.S. citizen. Now, their neighbor country, Nicaragua, they were given 30-day visas, right? So that's what I'm saying. You got to use it. It is the arbitrage. You have a passport from wherever you are, wherever you're from. You have an initial passport, and then if you have access to a second passport, go get that. I talk about Andrew Henderson and Nomad Capitalist. I believe he has 5 or 6 passports. So he uses passports strategically. If I'm traveling here and I know that they give a longer visa with this passport, then I'll travel through this passport. And then if I know when I go here, I'll use this other passport. And that's just your passport portfolio. It's part of your wealth process. You have a life portfolio, right? You're gonna have a financial portfolio. You got a crypto portfolio. You got a passport portfolio. So this is this stuff we like to talk about. Just and we just want to drill down because people had asked and said maybe that we breeze through a little bit faster. So we'll go into these different flag theories if you guys want to.
But I also want to mention symbols, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words. When we watch movies with these high-level assassins, with these spies, in every single movie, they'll always show you the safe with the gold, the silver. They'll show you stacks of American dollars, stacks of euros,
yep.
and then they show you multiple passports.
Green one, blue
that
one.
is not by accident. It is not by accident. Yep. They're showing you that because when he talks about freedom, we talk about financial freedom, we talk about physical freedom. We need to talk about psychological freedom. I keep trying to tell y'all it's a trick bag. When you travel the world, you are seeing the world through a different lens. When you see the world through a different lens, you begin to think differently. When you think differently, you behave differently. And when you behave differently, you have different outcomes.
Yes, indeed.
So when we tell y'all, get a passport, start traveling. I am more, because it does help you with your financial wealth, but you guys have to remember your financial wealth is it's an effect of a cause that you created. And that is simply psychological freedom, right? It's not the one way in, one way out the hood. So we want to treat it as such. Having multiple passports helps with that. But I just want to put that symbol in your mind that whenever you see symbols of wealth in movies, it is always a safe with the passports, the gold, the silver, the euros, the dollars.
Yeah. And I want to say one more thing, and she doesn't want me to talk about this, but we tell the truth all the time. That's what we do. We're going to tell the truth. For my brothers out there, man, I know sometimes we get in trouble with the law, this, that, and the third. Sometimes you got to get somewhere. I'm not advocating for, any crime or anything like that, but you got to be able to get somewhere. Maybe you need to get away. You got to get away. Hey, I'm in trouble. I need to get over here so I can lay low for a while. I'm just saying, and also because people who have certain, what would you say, certain vices.
Yes.
You can go to other countries where things are legal that
they're not so punitive.
That you continue to get in trouble for in the United States, right? So, and I'm not advocating for the vices and the trouble and the crime, but sometimes you got to get somewhere, and if you ain't got no passport, you can't get nowhere. And, you might have to move to places and be like, oh, I got to go over here.
And the problem is in the United States, because I just want to piggyback off of what you said, you're not doing anything illegal, right? Think about how many videos we watch where the guy didn't do anything and the police officer shot him in his chest or shot him in the back of the head or like you didn't do anything. It's just that you have the skin color of what they deem to be a criminal. Right. So when he's saying get somewhere where you can be psychologically free.
Yep.
Police pull us over all the time. I'm going to be real honest with y'all. We get pulled over more here in Mexico than we ever did in the United States. Yeah. However, my heart does not beat out of my chest when I see the flashing lights behind us. When I'm in the United States, I will have a full-on panic attack if we get pulled over because I don't know, is this it?
Yeah, we don't.
Right? Here, I don't have that thought. I'm like, again, and it's a very different feeling. Now, keep in mind, we get pulled over all the time. We've never gotten a ticket.
No.
Right? We know what to do. We stay on code. We don't speak Spanish. We speak English.
And just to clarify, we don't actually get pulled over because they don't. That's not really what they do. They really just set up.
They set up roadblocks.
Roadblocks. So
yeah,
you just
I said that wrong.
you're just driving down the street and it's just like they wave you down.
Everybody's getting pulled over.
Yeah, just get waved down like pull over. We want to talk to you. And you just talk to them.
We want to see if the vehicle is stolen.
Yeah,
what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And like as soon as they pull us over now, I just put my phone up. He has the iPad up. I put my phone up, so I'm going to call my lawyer.
Yep.
And as soon as we say that, they're like, have a nice day. Que tenga buen dia.
And that's how
Adios.
you do it. That's how you do
it, right?
That's why I say you got to have lawyers on deck when you're in these other countries. That's something to keep in mind. We might need to do a whole show about that. You guys let me know.
We will.
But yeah, you might have, you have to have a lawyer on deck. And like I said, I don't know if I mentioned this before, you probably need to have 2 lawyers on deck, if not 3, right? So you're going to need a criminal lawyer, right? So that's who, if somebody pull you over, you call them. And then you're going to need a immigration lawyer if you're trying to get your residency or however your paperwork together. And then the third one you're going to have is probably a real estate lawyer if you're trying to buy something or rent something through a large real estate company. So yeah, you might need to have 3 lawyers on deck. If you want, I'm talking about in Mexico for sure. You might need 3 lawyers on deck. And they don't cost as much, and so you can have them on deck, and it won't kill your pockets, but you need them. You need somebody that you can call who knows what's going on in each situation, because those are the most important situations. Criminal, real estate, and immigration. So yeah, you're gonna need a different lawyer on deck for all of those. But it's just part of the game. If you're gonna move around outside of the country, it's just what you have to do. It's not, like you said, we don't romanticize it. It's better. But there's certain things where you're like, dang, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I stayed in America. I never had a lawyer. But now I got 3 lawyers.
You also want to keep in mind that when we talk about freedom also requires more responsibility and accountability from you. So, when you're in a country where the country does everything for you, they're also controlling you in every which way, shape, or form. When you start to acquire that psychological freedom, that physical freedom, that financial freedom, it does require a lot more responsibility, a lot more accountability. You have a lot more obligations and things that you need to be on top of that someone else isn't on top of for you. So you want to just kind of keep those things in mind as you're moving in your journey. But we are going to let you guys go. We love y'all. We hope y'all have a happy and very safe Memorial Day. We want to salute and honor everyone who has served and is no longer with us, as well as those of us who have served, because one day we won't be here anymore either. So we salute you guys, and we hope you have a great weekend. Bye.